Another day in the NBA here, and the work begins anew after, I got to tell you, I didn't call Cade Cunningham putting up 46 field goals yesterday. That said, let's do the work as we always try to do here. Of course, comparing my data to one of our friends out there over at, not the Best Ball Chiron. Wait, nope, not that one. There we go. We got that one. We going to compare my data to our friends over at Stokastic, see what my projections think, including some hot off the presses updates because Joel Embiid, a knee injury or knee swelling, knee pain, something like that. He's not playing today, so we'll catch up on that today with my minutes estimates. We'll also look at ownership. We'll look at the game-by-game breakdown as well. We'll run a sim without my data, just seeing what Stokastic thinks about things. And by the end of this video, you'll know all the NBA DFS must plays along with my splash plays for today's slate. Let's get into it here. Let me go to this screen. Let me also give this what I call a retweet. I've coined that phrase. It's when you click the repost button on Twitter. It means the same thing, you might have guessed. Do veterans get free Squirt Squad entry today? You get me doing a stream, but happy Veterans Day. I'm a rascally old coot. I don't want to hear that. Good thing I faded Cade last second for Luka. Look, Luka ended up much chalkier than I would have thought. He was like 25% owned, I believe, in the big tournament. That definitely was not projected initially by Stokastic. They did have it, I think, at 22%, closer to lock. A lot of Luka got played. Not a lot of Cade did, but that Cade run out was one for the ages where you just don't see a guy shoot. I believe it was 14 for 46 in that game was the final numbers. You don't see that happen too often, even if you thought Cade was a good play. And he did come up a good amount in projection overall as more and more guys fell by the wayside for Detroit. The thing I'm more tilted about, 100 fantasy point days aside, we'd all love to capture those when we can. Ron Holland just shit in the bed, and Dennis Jenkins is the one who gets going. That is very much how the DFS world always goes. But in particular, it's just like this guy, Ron Holland's in the rotation playing 25 plus minutes, a lot of games. Then there's everybody out and they're like, no, today's not the day, Ron, because too many people in DFS are playing you. It's the way it goes. I'm sure given how the NBA actually has its gambling issues, I should make clear that's a joke. I don't think that the Detroit Pistons coaches are playing DFS and going, we're going to get this fucking Ron Holland today. But boy, if you were going to point to anything, that Ron Holland playing like shit and then not playing, that's one of it. Either way, though, we got projections for today. Let's talk about it. We only have one game not on the slate for DraftKings. It is that late game. The West Coast game feels like DraftKings given up on generally on these Tuesday slates. At 11 p.m. start time for Jokic. He is a 64.4 projection for me. Would look very good if you are playing that late slate, but that's too late for me to gamble, so I won't be there. Jokic, though, top projected guy today by a decent margin. It looked like initially for the slate itself, the main slate, there wasn't going to be anybody projected for 50 fantasy points to me. SGA he's playing fine this year. Really no issue with that. What SGA has been as a real life basketball player. Fantasy wise, though, the results have been down a little bit, especially I think compared to how I would feel with Jalen Williams out. But SGA projects for under 50 for me, Siakam under 50, Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brown, Michael Porter Jr. I have pretty high, but also under 50. But now that we have Embiid out, Tyrese Maxey does look like he will be the guy that projects over 50 for me. I did update the projections again to reflect Embiid not being out. We had last game Embiid missing, so there's a pretty decent run of minutes to get a read on. And as it is for Maxey, he already plays a bunch of minutes, currently, but now you're getting these minutes being without Joel Embiid, taking that usage off the court. And for, Maxey this year without Embiid playing, he has had 33% usage compared to his usual 29.5. His assist rate goes up to 34.4 compared to his usual 32.2. Rebound rate is the same, but for those little upticks for Maxey, that matters for a guy who's playing, basically a football game's worth of minutes. It feels like every slate. So for Tyrese Maxey, 10-3 salary, he is your pay-up option I feel the best about. Though certainly if the ownership comes up here, Stokastic previously, with Embiid assumed in, had Maxey for 3.5%. Now that's going to come up even more. But I could only get Maxey at 4% because he just wasn't in the player pool a lot from Stokastic's 11 Embiid in. SGA, 10-8 salary. Again, no issue with SGA and how he's playing. I just think for this slate, Maxey does look a little bit better projected for me. That's it on the year. SGA averaging 1.5 fantasy points a minute. Maxey not quite in that tier, 1.33. And I would have Maxey going for 1.39 today. But the minutes do get a little higher for SGA, and I think that would be the main thing. For Maxey than SGA. And I think that'd be the main thing that we're looking for, especially in a spot where OKC versus Golden State, I guess, could get more competitive, and you could see SGA playing a few more minutes than he might. But really, Holmgren getting a little more usage up this year, I think that hurts SGA as opposed to Maxey, who seems to get more usage with Embiid off. Isaiah Joe, AJ Mitchell, these guys are taking decent usage as well. I think for Oklahoma City, that's really the big difference for me between SGA and those other guys. But, there's decent ownership really for nobody on the Thunder. So to play SGA, I don't think you're like getting away from the field. Like, I'm going to play AJ Mitchell a lot. He's projecting like a monster for me. My projection's really high for AJ Mitchell. Stokastic has him at a much more reasonable number, but he's starting playing big minutes. I think it all kind of hurts SGA's outlook as a guy that last year you had Jalen Williams getting shots up, but for the most part, the rest of the rotation has kind of stood around and watched SGA. This year, they're all doing a little bit more, and AJ Mitchell is playing a lot of minutes alongside SGA, is doing a ton this year and getting a ton of shots up. Pascal Siakam, $9,800 salary. Matchup for him today going against Utah. Certainly not a bad one. One of the worst defenses in basketball. For Indiana, 117.5 implied points. For Siakam, I think that I would like to be getting more than I am. Only 7% right now. Fields at 11. I think Andrew Nembhard coming out of the gates pretty hot with a 27% usage rate, a 38% assist rate. Think that's hurting Siakam a little bit in my data. Would think that McConnell being back in as well, potentially tonight. He's currently questionable, but he is in the data set. That might be hurting Siakam a little bit. And I do think for Siakam and his price tag, like he kind of needs everybody to be off to feel good about him if he were a chalk play. But 11% ownership, I don't think that's an unreasonable number. I feel like if you get 10, 15, it's not a crazy amount of Siakam in a competitive spot theoretically versus Utah, who only a 2.5 point dog at home. Like that game should be competitive, and Utah, again, not a good team defensively and overall. Jalen Brunson, not the most exciting play for me at 8,900 and a 43.7 projection. Stokastic has him at 43.2. He's played pretty well this year because the usage has been up. Is getting now 32% usage, was the highest on the team by a decent margin. Cat number 2 at 26%, which is a little bit more of a discrepancy than they had last year. For Jalen Brunson, you are playing Memphis, who does seem to have phoned it in a little bit overall. Memphis also plays with pretty good pace, and for the Knicks, it should be about 5 extra possessions in this game compared to how slow they usually play. That's probably not bad for Brunson. At his price tag, really happy to be with the field. 12% Fields at 11.8. But I think there's upside there, so don't have any beef against Brunson at this point. We got Jaylen Brown, 27% ownership. Field is going to be there. I'm at 32%. Jaylen Brown at 8,500. Reasonable price tag for a guy who I have at a 43.4 projection. Again, a lot of ownership going to Jaylen Brown. I don't think he's that much better of a play than Brunson. You're just saving $400, and that might matter for certain lineups, but it's always one of those things I notice in my data where it's like, right, I'm getting a lot of Jaylen Brown. Is he that much better of a play than Jalen Brunson? Probably not. So whenever the ownership kind of has that big of a lean and you feel that way, it might be something just to try to flatten those players out a little bit more. Michael Porter Jr., he is a guy that has projected well for me for multiple slates. And, with Porter Jr., the big thing is that he really is getting a ton of usage right now on the seam, overall at 30% on the year. And that includes all the court time he's had where he had to watch Cam Thomas fucking around out there. Now Cam Thomas is out. We could quickly look up the NBA Wowie for this because I think it might be worth it. Let's go to Brooklyn. Skip forward a year. We just want to look at this season. Let's take off Cam Thomas. We got about a 33% usage rate for himself, I believe. So Nick Claxton gaining here. Frankly, you could take Sharp off too, but that'll make the sample size probably a little bit too small. As it is, we're only getting about 250, 300 possessions for Michael Porter Jr. without Cam Thomas. We generally want to see about 1,000 possessions because that's where the sample size starts to stabilize a little bit more. But you can see here, Nick Claxton, 1.3 fantasy points a minute. Day'Ron Sharp, who won't be playing today as well, 1.26. Michael Porter Jr., 1.24, along with 33% usage. I would get him in pretty much every lineup if I bumped his rates this high. He is a big winner because of not having Cam Thomas out. So is Claxton, who loves to bring the ball up and take fucking stupid shots at the rim. But he does a little bit of everything. I think for Claxton and Michael Porter Jr., they are both solid plays in the slate. Porter Jr., the one who definitely stands out the most for me, though. You could see here getting 75% ownership, but the field's there at 41. I would say if you're not going to play Porter Jr., you could maybe play Toronto, blowing them off the court. They are an 10.5 point favorite on the road going into Brooklyn. Maybe you got, a couple of Barnes, Ingram, Barrett quickly going nuts, and that's sort of how Brooklyn and Porter Jr. in particular doesn't get there. But I think if you assume Brooklyn can keep this, within 10 points heading into the fourth quarter, and you get that last stint, for Porter Jr. and Claxton, they should have a pretty good shot at hitting good upside here. They're just much better players because of Cam Thomas not being out there and being a black hole. Domantas Sabonis, late slate guy as well. 42 fantasy point projection for me. He's a guy. Though, so rumors of Sacramento fire selling some guys off, basically all the stars off soon potentially. So maybe something to watch for Sabonis playing or not playing a little bit more. Lauri Markkanen getting the big projection boost from me here, 4.2 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, most likely because of the fact that Markkanen's played pretty well this year. And in my data currently, every game counts for 4 games, trying to get the projections kind of level out with the previous year's projections, or previous year's results rather. For guys like Markkanen, that does mean that I have him projected a little bit higher. Stokastic would not have him over a 5x value. Meanwhile, I have him at 5.3, but the field's still expected to play him about 16%. I got him at 27. And for Markkanen too, going against Indiana does feel like the kind of spot where that could be, 4 quarters of competitive basketball. And that's a good thing for Markkanen, who has had a 29% usage rate on the year, averaging a 1.18 fantasy points per minute. Karl Anthony Towns would be a little bit better play to me if you did have no Mitchell Robinson playing, but it seems like he will today. Towns at 9K. When he gets to center minutes and Robinson's stats just kind of come off the projection sheet, you'll get more rebounds going Cat's way. He'll look better. As it is right now, 16.5% for the field. Loved Cat so much last year. He's just not quite all the way there. And part of that is because having Mitchell Robinson play alongside of him for a good allotment of minutes, whenever he's healthy. Towns right now, I'm under the field by a good amount, only 5%. Scotty Barnes, Toronto pretty crowded. Any of those guys can go off at a given slate. Fields at 15%. Scotty Barnes, I do have him 0.6 better projected than Stokastic, but I still only got him at 11% of lineups. Toronto, always a hard team for me to get a lot of ownership to because they got a lot of stars who like to get shots up. But let's sort by value here. Let's see what we get. And guys, if you get any value of this video, please do hit that like button. Please subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my NBA data, showing you my NBA process, and of course my own gambling efforts. 2 p.m. Monday to Friday every day for the NBA. For NFL on the Splash Play Pod channel, you get Monday and Thursday from me. Friday as well, 12 p.m. Premium video on there every week too. So join the family here, but join the Squirt Squad. Join the channel if you want to get access to the Discord, or if you want to see my data as well. All the stuff I show you here on screen, it is updated lovingly throughout the night. Whenever there's a change in lineups, I do try to make sure to hit it for you guys. In addition, for myself, when I'm updating lineups and I'm still alive and stuff and haven't completely given up like fucking last night. It's like, oh, sick, I don't have Cade. And also, I was not even close in Showdown. I had the right concept for NFL Showdown. It was just awful. But I still do the work is really the main thing. So please do join the channel, all of that. And my data's good. Just, man, it's fucking, when the both sports are going on and you don't have the guy putting up 100 fantasy points in basketball, it really makes it tough on you. Really, really erodes the sanity. But it's basically a new week here, right? That's how it goes. AJ Mitchell, my top value right now. We should really quickly pull up the popcorn machine for Oklahoma City because I do think it's important. This is AJ Mitchell last game. He is starting now, large part because you have Wiggins out. You have still have Jalen Williams out. You have enough guys missing that AJ Mitchell, and he's played well enough. He's gotten the bump up the rotation. But he started here, played 32 minutes against Memphis. You'd think, hey, maybe that's a matchup thing, but not really. AJ Mitchell in this game also 21 points, 13 peripherals, minus turnovers. So I would say is a good fantasy day, even though we can't see it on this particular screen. Game before that, AJ Mitchell starting again. He didn't close that game out because they were in a big enough lead that, they didn't have the starters out there. AJ Mitchell plays 31 minutes, puts up 18 points, 17 peripherals, minus turnovers. He's playing well. So for AJ Mitchell at this point, I'm surprised the projections haven't caught up. There is, a thing that we talk about a lot here where Stokastic will price guys is like, what the previous role, or, project guys rather, as what the previous role was, and kind of keep it for maybe longer than they should, because they do want to reflect the longer term sample size. But for guys like AJ Mitchell, have a meaningful new role. And Mitchell, I mean, I would say shockingly to me, the usage for him is number 2 on the team right now. He's putting up 25.6% usage. SGA is at 34 and change. Chet Holmgren's at 23 rounded up. So like he's getting up more shots than Chet Holmgren. He's still also getting a 22% assist rate. SGA is at 31. So these guys both creating offense for the team around them. AJ Mitchell playing at about a league average true shooting, 57.5%. He's not as good as some of the Thunder guys, who are all significantly above that. Like SGA's at 64, Chet's at 68. These guys are really good shooters, but he's good. Like he's an average shooter at the very least. And he's getting shots up. So I think for AJ Mitchell, I'm shocked. I'll be shocked if this 10% ownership holds. Maybe Stokastic bumps him up a little bit, but the minutes projection feels not too aggressive. Golden State feels like a spot you want AJ Mitchell. I mean, maybe that's your one thing. It's like they might want better defenders than AJ Mitchell out there. Maybe you want Isaiah Joe more for 3-point spacing. I guess those are ways that AJ Mitchell doesn't get there, but like he's playing really well and he deserves the ownership. So that's that. Love hearing that. Agree with your approach and appreciate it. I think that happens when I confirm your priors for a player. But yeah, AJ Mitchell, 10% ownership. Like the only value play here that seems unowned at this point. Michael Porter Jr., we talked about, just a much better player. You saw the rates on the NBA WoW. He had more fun site for Porter Jr. without Cam Thomas, about a 1.2, 1.3 fantasy point per minute player with him off. And really the big concern for me is just that this Toronto smoke Brooklyn. It's always a possibility. But, assuming that plays competitively, I think Michael Porter Jr. worth it. And maybe in lines without Porter Jr., look for more Raptors, try to get a couple in there of the high usage guys, because that's sort of the way I think Porter Jr. doesn't get there as they get blown out. Josh Minot hanging around here. The minutes are down. My projection at 24.9, but at 4,400, he is decent value overall. I did not check the popcorn machine for Boston last game, so let's look at it here. Minot starts, no fouls. And no fouls, and he did not play a ton of first half minutes. Second half, did not play a ton either, only got to 16. Why did he not play? They went to Luka Garza. No, he was in for Queta. They went Simons, Hauser, Garza when they took Minot off the court. I think it's just more Sam Hauser and then maybe more Jordan Walsh / Hugo Gonzalez here. Not losing minutes because he really does need to be out there. He wasn't doing much, so if he's unproductive, he loses minutes. If he plays well, I mean, this is true of many players, but if he plays well, maybe he keeps more minutes. Either way, it's only 23.3 as the projection. I don't love getting him in half my lineups with him. The minutes insecurity there doesn't feel great, but certainly if you get Minot correct, I mean, we've seen the upside there because he gets rebounds. He does occasionally get some stocks, can knock down some threes. He does a lot of valuable stuff. Assists, he gets a little bit of. But Minot, I don't love this ownership for the field or me. But 20.5% for the field, I'm getting in 49%. Things may move with Philadelphia, maybe. We'll see how that goes. Trendon Watford, I'm with the field on. He'll look only better at this point with Joel Embiid out. Obviously, the big day that he had this year with he put up a triple-double, put up 60 fantasy points. I got him at a 26.7 projection at 25 minutes. Stokastic has about 24.4. That projection probably comes up a little bit because of Embiid being ruled out, but not out in Stokastic's data yet. I know Watford's playing at over a 1 fantasy point per minute pace this year. 1.04, good rebound rate, 27% assist rate. Feels a little bit high. It's hard to critique him at 4,800 with the ceiling that he's shown already this year in, very few games. But I don't think being above the field on Watford seems like a great thing. I'm at 24%. Field's at 24%. If I got a little bit more, fine. If I got a little bit less, I think that'd also be fine. Yusuf Nurkic got into thumbnail because the projections for minutes were not out from Stokastic, and I was like, I don't know, put it in the thumbnail. I think Nurkic might be popular. But Nurkic today playing an Indiana team that certainly does not have a lot to offer at the center spots. Isaiah Jackson is starting to look more like old Isaiah Jackson after his injuries, but still, nobody we ever worry about too much defensively. And certainly if you get Jay Huff out there for any minutes that Nurkic is, he's just going to be feet away from Nurkic shooting threes. So the rebound should be pretty easy if there are shots that don't go down for Indiana. But Nurkic on a back-to-back, didn't have a particularly great game versus Minnesota yesterday, I don't think. Real fast popcorn machine for him. Ace Bailey starting. Not a bad Ace Bailey game. But Yusuf Nurkic played 25 minutes here. Didn't close because they went with Filipowski and Walter Clayton instead. Yeah, I'm not crazy about Nurkic, but 29% for the field. I'm getting 45. He does project well for me. He's always been a good per minute player. Yeah, I feel like my face is like in the thumbnail. I think it's right. Like, it's like, all right, Nurkic, sure. But I don't think he's a particularly exciting play at this point with the price tag mostly up. And he's just Utah's starting center. And frankly, he's due to shoot better any game. I think he's shooting so poorly to start the year. Gets Indiana, that could certainly hit. Peyton Pritchard, another guy who's rounding into form for the most part. He's up to 54% true shooting, which is better than Derek White, still hanging down at a much lower 45%. Pritchard as well, minutes looking good, 30.7 minute projection for him. Fields at 29% ownership. I got 43. Weird to have such close numbers for the two players with Nurkic and Pritchard at 6,100. But I think these guys look like solid plays. They're also the kind of plays that sometimes I feel like I get a lot more of. Then I'm like, these guys just don't have the same upside as that other people are playing in the same tournaments. But I think for Pritchard, if he gets hot, you always get the assist upside as well. If the rest of the team shoots a little bit better, I think he's never a bad play. But 29% ownership is a good amount. I feel like Nurkic too, maybe the upside not as much there as it has been. If you look at last season's data where he did play pretty well in Charlotte, really racked up a lot of garbage stats while playing for a team with very little on the line. Then he played, similarly for Utah when he did play for them too. I'm not sure he's quite as good this year. And he's still averaging 1.1 fantasy points per minute. But, that might be a little bit high compared to how he's actually playing on the year. 40% true shooting, though, is real bad for Nurkic. It's got to get better. Nurkic and Pritchard, though, 6,100, both good plays, both coming up a lot for me. Jonas Valanciunas on the late game, so it doesn't really matter too much, but he does look like a decent value at 3,300. Very productive for whatever minutes that Jokic doesn't play, which is not a lot of minutes. Tyrese Maxey, again, looks like a good value here because, again, that boost in rates without Joel Embiid does get better at assists, does get better at usage. Lauri Markkanen, we talked about already. I haven't better projected than Stokastic, but it does weight, this season and his results a little bit more. Keontae George, another guy who's playing pretty well. The very jazzy day for me here, but 26% ownership. I'm getting him at 39. He definitely has played well enough on the year. 1.12 fantasy points per minute for Keontae George. 27% usage. It's not bad. 36% assist rate. He's playing well. It's a lot of Keontae George to see when he's definitely not, in my mind, a player that I'm like crazy about, but 7,100 especially. But, Indiana's maybe not good enough to put this team away. I will say, though, like if Indiana does blow out Utah, it's a lot of ownership for Utah right now. So that's that. And Cedric Coward just keeps playing steady minutes for Memphis. Another guy that does feel due for negative regression because he is still shooting at this point. 68% true shooting. That keeps creeping down basically every slate. But he's playing well enough at 1.1 fantasy points a minute. He gets rebounds. He gets assists. Doesn't turn the ball over too much. That's a positive for him. Cedric Coward doesn't ever excite me on any slate. If there's better value that opens up, I feel like I don't get Coward. But at 5,800, he's playing reliable minutes. And, Memphis needs some steadiness, I guess. Feel like Maxey lights up Boston every time? Sure. I mean, the biggest thing to me, and, I don't care very much about DVP matchups. It's just like it's too small of a sample size for it to matter. But what matters today is that you don't get Embiid in, and he just gets a lot more shots up without Embiid. And certainly, against Boston is going to be a lot of small guard stuff. So that's kind of a perfect matchup for Maxey, for Grimes, I think you're going to see a lot of Philadelphia with that Edgecombe, Maxey, Grimes, Oubre lineup, and then Bono, whatever the fifth guy is, Watford, who knows. All right, let's go game by game here. And again, one more ask. Please do hit that like button. Please subscribe, guys. Goes a long way for me here. Just one guy perpetually fighting that YouTube algorithm. I don't know why that took so low to click. I turned on hardware acceleration on Chrome today in the hopes that it would help the video maybe sync better to the audio, and I don't think it's helping. I don't Anyway, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That does help me out here. Of course, check out Stokastic too. 15% off, link in the description. It's the best deal they have going right now. All the cheap stuff, all the expensive stuff, the data, the Sims products. If you want to get multiple sports, it's all 15% off, and it does support the show when you click that link down below or use the promo code SPLASH. And of course, join the channel as well. You want to see the sheet that I show you here. In fact, I'll show you. This is the version you see on screen, and then the version that you get access to. We take out the Stokastic data. I take out my sim data too, because I don't update that throughout the night. But basically, you get all my data here and some of the key stats that you want to know for these guys. So a very easy tool to use. And, tool. I say tool. It's just, it's an Excel. But, it's a Google Sheets. It's fancier. But, check it out here. Support the show. Join one of the Squirt Squad tiers, and you get that. And if you want my projections exportable as well, you can get that too. All right, Toronto, 121.5 implied points. Brooklyn, 111 implied points. Not much. Let me go back to the one where you can see ownership. Not much coming up for me relative to the field. Quickly is going to be 32% expected owned. Price tag at 6,400 is pretty good, but he is producing the worst out of all the stars for Toronto here, 0.98 fantasy points a minute. I still have that 1.05 today, but I got him under the field at 25%. Scotty Barnes, I think, is still your best producer for this team. Brandon Ingram, very good at throwing water bottles, but besides that, he's good. He's good at fantasy. I'm gonna bust his balls because the water bottle thing. What an asshole to throw a water bottle, spray it on your teammates, people in the front row, and and then you don't even apologize. That's rude. But he's playing well. 60% true shooting for him. I've always thought, to me, he looks like nouveau, not quite as good Kevin Durant. And I feel like we're kind of seeing that from, really we have, I think, going back to New Orleans. But now I think you're seeing it in Toronto where, like, he's not doing a lot. He's still getting some assists, some rebounds, but he's just shooting and shooting well, and that's all good. RJ Barrett producing at a pretty good rate to start the year here, 1.05. But 7,200 feels like we're carrying the price tag from last season's data a little bit more, where RJ Barrett had more opportunity because there was no Brandon Ingram in the lineup. But really, Toronto, it's a nice total here at 121.5. Brooklyn, it is a pace down spot, but they are a terrible defense with a 119.4 defensive efficiency rating. I think for Toronto, they are a team that is always hard for me to get, but Quickly's price is at least approaching usability, kind of like a Desmond Bane yesterday, where he's definitely the least good part of a high usage team, but he's cheap enough now and he's been good enough historically that you kind of want to buy in. Ace Bailey could be sneaky. I don't know about sneaky, but we'll see a little bit. Stream and chat smoother today. Chat? I don't know. Well, yes, the chat. No nonsense coming up today, but I appreciate that. Hopefully it works well. Brooklyn, 111 implied points here. We got Michael Porter Jr., who I've talked about enough already. And then this is me without having juked his rates to a higher level to represent what Cam Thomas, brings to the table by not being here today. Porter Jr. would come up even higher. My big concern really for Porter Jr. and Claxton, who projects so well for me, and Porter Jr. in 3/4 of my lineups, Claxton in 1/4 of them, which is a little bit less than the field, but it's still a good amount. My concern is really just Toronto kicks their ass. Like, Toronto's got a lot of shooters. You got a lot of guys that, can put up a lot of points fast against a terrible defense. But Toronto's defense isn't good either. So the hope is that we get that upside from Porter Jr. and Claxton. And maybe, if you play the Nets, you should consider playing a Raptor on the way back. I don't know. Think of it more in a football bring back kind of way. Noah Clowney, I'm low on here, though I do think if I juke his rates a little bit more because of Cam Thomas being out, he would come up. But Clowney's shooting terribly to start the year, and that's part of why he went so nuts last game, because he's just desperately due to shoot better. That was kind of the thing we talk about here with guys getting a league average shooting, if not close enough to it. For the most part, you expect that to happen. Clowney was like the embodiment of that last game, I believe it was, where he just shot a bunch of threes, got hot in the first half, then got banged up a little bit. But Clowney is just like, he's going to shoot better than he is right now. But he's not rebounding a lot, not getting assists either. Not that it's ever been his game. He's only at 0.67 fantasy points a minute. He's definitely been a less viable part of the offense this year, just kind of standing around and chucking and not really doing much else. Igor Diomin, 0.8 fantasy points per minute on the year. He's not bad, but not getting enough minutes and not doing enough when he's out there to feel good about it. Really, the Nets, to me, you're getting ownership for Zaire Williams, getting a little bit for Dioman, for Clowney, you're getting some. To me, it's Porter Jr. and Claxton are what you want. And even then, you want to be mindful of like, Toronto needs to not kick their ass for them to pay off, or come close to it. Memphis, 111 implied points. We got not a lot of ownership for me for Ja Morant, 4%, Fields at 22. The big issue is that Ja Morant's playing at a 1.1 fantasy point per minute pace. He's not really priced for that, but certainly playing at the Garden, putting on some sort of statement game. I don't know. I guess he could do that, but he's also going to shoot better at some point. 47% true shooting is pretty bad. His usage is still there. The assist rate's still there. He's killing about 75% of possessions while he's on the floor. For Ja Morant, the underlying stuff is there besides the fact that he's playing terribly amidst him having the sads because the coach yelled at him or whatever. Cedric Coward shooting a little bit unsustainably well at 68% true shooting still, but he gets rebounds, gets assists. That kind of grades out here at the PRAs number for me. At 24.6, I would have his PRAs higher than Jaren Jackson, which is kind of a sad reflection on how Jaren Jackson is playing here to start the year. Cedric Coward straight up outproducing Jaren Jackson in per minute numbers right now. Yeah, Santi Aldama outproducing Jaren Jackson too. Kind of a tough look. Cedric Coward looking sexy. Okay, I don't know if I call him sexy. I would never call a Coward sexy. I believe bravery is sexy. But not much usage, gets boards and assists. Yeah, no, I mean, again, that comes through in the projection. I just think, the price tag pays off a little bit better if the shooting is hot, and he shot so well to start the year that you're relying a little bit more on the peripherals, which feel like he shouldn't be out rebounding Jaren Jackson that much. Jock Landale too. But, that could just be the way that the rebounds flow for a team. It happens. New York on their side, good amount of ownership for OG Anunoby in particular here. 16% is what I'm getting for Anunoby. Fields at 24. Price tag at 6,500. Kind of the same thing as Quickly. It's just a nice price tag for a guy that probably hasn't gotten played a lot in slates lately. Jalen Brunson, I'm slightly above the field on, but barely. 12% for me. Fields at 11.8. Brunson at 8,900. 1.24 fantasy points a minute. He's fine. But, I think the projection is not high enough that he's a guy you want to cram in to lineups, even though the tournament upside's certainly there. Cat, I feel the same way about, but he's going to be higher owned than I have him at. 17% for the field. I'm getting him at 5. Cedric Coward, we're saying, shooting a lot less for whatever reason. I mean, it was also like a lot of shots he's getting up early. Like, usage should flow back to the other guys. And frankly, Jaren Jackson, I know Josh talked about that in his Stokastic streams this morning, but like, Jaren Jackson's got to shoot more at some point. He's probably deferring too much. Ja also can shoot as much as he wants while he's out there, as long as, again, he's not getting too sad and whatever, but losing his joy too much to get shots up. But I think for Memphis, I get it with Coward. It just feels like a little bit unsustainable personally, but yeah, is what it is. Boston, 116 implied points here. A lot of ownership for me with Boston today. They're playing a not great defense. They also are a pretty good offensive team still, even though the results have not been great for Boston. And it does feel like any day they could just decide, let's tank perhaps, but Jason Tatum, the reinforcements perhaps on the way at some point. So Jaylen Brown, Fields there pretty heavy at 27%. I'm getting 32. Fields heavy on Derek White, who again is desperately due to shoot better at 45% true shooting. I hate taking the chalky player when he hasn't shot well and you're just like buying in on a day he's just due for regression. To me, it's more like you kind of want to ride the negative wave when the ownership is pretty high. But I'm only getting Derek White at 29%, Fields at 23%. So it's not a big enough stand that I would worry too much about it. But I do have Brown, White, Pritchard, all projected better than Stokastic does. So getting more of these guys does seem like it would be natural with how that would work. Peyton Pritchard, I'm getting at 43%, Fields at 29. Again, another guy due to shoot a little bit better, but he is only averaging 0.9 fantasy points per minute, a little bit down from the 1.08 I would have, reflecting that longer-term sample size as well. Anthony Simons has been terrible. I don't know when it gets better for him. He's getting average amounts of success shooting it at 58.1%, but he's not getting assists anymore. His usage is not very high. Feels like for Anthony Simons, you need the stars to be out for him to have good enough upside, but At 4,500, I feel like it's a tournament option, 12% ownership. That's something. Josh Minot, the minutes we talked about, getting jerked around a little bit. I don't love having 49% in the sim. Fields at 20.5, but I think by the time he gets a lock, that'll come down. I hope will come down naturally for me. And if not, I'm going to make it come down by force. Sam Hauser getting 8%, Fields at 5. Probably wouldn't want to play him with Minot, I don't think. Philly, the ownership's going to come up a little bit because we did get Joel Embiid ruled out right before the show, so I got to try to tweak the minutes a little bit, but, still going to move everything around. Maxey, to me, looks like your best overall high-projected play on the slate, a 54.2 projection for me. Stokastic's at 47.5, but that was with Embiid in the data set. For Maxey, the usage goes up to 33%. The assist rate goes up to 36%. He has played better without Embiid, which, to me, you'd expect. Certainly, though, Boston can throw enough defenders at him. Maybe he has to kick the ball a little bit more. But Maxey, to me, I think can beat doubles. The team also has enough shooters around him that I think that keeps that honest enough. But certainly, Boston could trap, make Maxey kick out. And if he becomes very chalky, that's one way perhaps to fade it a little bit is to play Edgecombe, Oubre, Grimes more, even though the projections are not all the way there. Last game with Embiid out, Andre Drummond played, I believe, 34 minutes. Let's check it out here real fast. Yeah, Drummond played 34.6 minutes here. Obviously didn't get any foul trouble or anything, so that helped. But he played a lot. So I only have Drummond right now for 25 minutes, just because 34 feels like a lot. You don't want to put that as a median projection. But I do think Drummond, Stokastic will probably project him, if I had to guess, like 28 minutes, maybe 30. Adem Bona probably picks up 16 that he's, then there's a few more floating around for going small. And it's certainly possible that Philadelphia could go small because Drummond could get beaten up again, pretty bad if they just keep attacking him with Jaylen Brown, with Derek White, with Peyton Pritchard. If they keep switching on a Drummond, I could see him not closing that game or just drawing fouls too. So I would be careful if Drummond picks up a ton of minutes, becomes super chalk. We got this guy asking here, is Drummond a thing again? If so, give me all of Andre the Giant. Funny. I would say for Andre, I get it. I do think there's a lot of ways that he could get played off the court here, including them just going smaller with Watford. Probably not McCain. Definitely going to Bona. Bona gives them defense late that Drummond doesn't. So there's certain worlds where that'll be a thing. I'd be careful of Drummond. Even if he's starting, I'd be careful of Drummond. Golden State. And by careful, I mean don't lock him. That kind of thing. Golden State 110.5 implied. We're getting Steph Curry back in. That hurts after a few games of him being out, and everybody's priced up for it. So really for Golden State, I don't think you play anything. I know Steven in the chat mentioned that Al Horford got ruled out because he's going to be playing against the other side of the back-to-back. It doesn't really matter too much to me here. I probably would not play anything from Golden State. OKC on their side, we've talked enough about SGA. Chet Holmgren really not picking up enough usage with Jalen Williams out. He's playing well, though, 1.17 fantasy points per minute. Definitely shooting unsustainably well. With 68% true shooting, though. Hartenstein not getting as many shots up this year, but projection for me is looking good again with 34.1. Stokastic has him at 32.8. The minutes have been better for him, but still, Hartenstein feels kind of like an unstable play depending on really just whatever game, but against Golden State in particular, feels like you could see him get played off the court. AJ Mitchell, again, we talked about already, went through the popcorn machine. He's playing a ton of minutes. Feel like you could maybe project him for 31 and not feel bad about it. With Wiggins out, I think that helps things a little bit more. But there are definitely ways that AJ Mitchell could not close, and that would mean that he gets more like 25 minutes. He might produce well enough in that time period that doesn't kill you. But we really, he's been impressive. 1.1 fantasy points per minute while playing a lot of time alongside SGA. I like AJ Mitchell. I've said that enough times probably for one video. Indiana, 117.5 implied points here. Andrew Nembhard playing well to start the year while also shooting terribly at 43% true shooting, but he is getting up a 38% assist rate, 27% usage rate. If that shot starts to fall, he could actually have a meaningful ceiling. So Nembhard, I'm going to be on with the field, 23% for me. Fields at 27.5. Siakam, given the matchup versus Utah, I think you make the case is worth whatever ownership the field gives him. But with the projection, even for me being about 1.8 fantasy points higher, I only got 7% Siakam. The $9,800 price tag does not look the best for me, and I do think Maxey is probably going to squeeze that ownership even more. Utah, 115 implied points here. A lot of Utah, which is good for swappability on the slate, but man, Utah is a team that could get blown out any given night. There's a lot of ownership for the field and for me. I'm above the field on Markkanen, Keontae George, Yusuf Nurkic, under on Ace Bailey, who was only played at a .7 fantasy point minute pace to start the year. 43% true shooting. My projection is a little bit low at 19 fantasy points, but I think Ace Bailey might end up really chalky. People like him as a prospect. I thought he kind of looked like an empty calorie usage merchant in college, but he's going to start most likely today. So for Ace Bailey, you can play him. Filipowski, you can play as well. That's that. Is this PPR? Yeah, unfortunately not. You don't get points per reception in basketball, but that'd be great. I would love that for sure. Drafters, maybe it is, though. Denver, for you late game sickos that are going to be playing at 11 o'clock East Coast time. Get a child, you you miscreants. Denver, 120. No, for all you West Coast people, that's awesome. That's good timing. 125.5 implied points for Denver. Really, Jokic looks good for me based on the late slate pricing. Jonas Valanciunas as well. Playable in lineups without Jokic, especially if you're trying to get creative and go low owned for the late slate. But, you know, it's tough to play Jonas because he's really not playing a ton of minutes. Only projected to play 13 here. Sacramento on their side, if they rule a bunch of guys out, it'll look better. As it is, nobody projected that well. If these guys were on the same slate, I would only be playing Jokic out of this game. But, you know, they're not, so you have to play some of these guys. Here's the projection if you want it. Let's go to Stokastic next, guys. Let's see what they have for us. Let's build that little sim. Did they update for Embiid? They did not update for Embiid yet. You hate to see it. We'll run a sim. I will be on Stokastic's deeper dive later today, so please do check that out. I get to hang out on Tuesdays with my good friend Josh Engelman. So that's at 5:30 Eastern today because the slate starts at 7:30 Eastern, so keep that in mind. But I will be picking up Luca from daycare because Alex is going to be on a work call. I'll be putting Luca in front of the TV, and I presume with Carl the Collector, which a show I've talked about on stream before, but starring an autistic raccoon, cartoon raccoon, not real life one. I don't know if real life raccoons get autism, but he collects things, and that's a good 22-minute show. Well, in 2 parts. So that's what Luke will be doing while I do the deeper dive today at 5:30. That's the plug for both Carl the Collector and for the deeper dive. It's a good show, though. Like, you know, gotta learn about feelings. Gotta learn about raccoon autism. All these things are important, you know. Your top ROI lineups. I'm just clicking things and saying things. Let's see. Big number blocks kick lately. Huh, okay. Yeah, it's weird. Like, Luca also likes Bluey now, but, like, because he liked it when he was a baby and, like, he obviously had no clue what the fuck's going on, but he now gets it. He, like, is, like, still, like, weirdly ashamed of Bluey. He's like, oh, well, I guess we could watch some Bluey. It's like, all right. Be a dick about it. But he's watching more stuff. He watched Inside Out lately, so I was proud. Anyway, Stokastic data you get for yourself. Promo code SPLASH. You guys know the deal here. 15% off if you want to run the sim for yourself later today when data does update. But right now, without the Sixers update for Joel Embiid, you got the top ROI lineup, including Jalen Brunson, Peyton Pritchard, Cedric Coward. We got Josh Minot in here, so Coward and Minot. Joel Embiid. Oh, fuck. Joel Embiid, 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 Joel. Our top lineup that does not include Joel Embiid. Gotta assume that's going to bode well for Stokastic trying to give you some Drummond for sure. A lineup does not contain Embiid. There are top ROI lineups without Joel Embiid, who has been ruled out, even though in Stokastic data they live in a utopian past where he was going to play. John Morant, Anthony Simons, oh God, Cedric Coward, Karl Anthony Towns makes it, Neemias Queta makes it, AJ Mitchell, Josh Minot, Isaiah Hartenstein. It's funny, so even in a lineup where they faded Embiid, they had to get like the oppo leverage against Embiid. The sim really thought that was the most important spot of the slate potentially here. Number 2 ROI lineup in Stokastic data here. We got SGA, Anthony Simons, Michael Porter Jr. There we go. Josh Minot makes it. Queta makes it again. Keontae George, Cedric Coward again. Isaiah Jackson makes it. Number 3, Emmanuel Quickly, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, our lesser Knicks make it. Trenton Watford, Kyle Filipowski, Tyrese Maxey, Josh Minot, Derek White, who is, again, one day going to hit shots again. Number 4, Emmanuel Quickly, Cam Spencer, Cedric Coward, Karl Anthony Towns, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Brunson, Trenton Watford, and Ace Bailey makes this one. That lineup's got an ace up its sleeve. Number 5, Jalen Brunson, Ace Bailey. This lineup's got an ace up its sleeve. Cedric Coward, Trenton Watford, Neemias Queta, Keontae George, Michael Porter Jr., Isaiah Hartenstein. Let's not include Embiid. Let's unfavorite this, and let's get the top 150 without Embiid. So, Embiid still got in here somehow. How did he still get in? I've said, do not give me Embiid. Unfavor at all. Favorite top 150. So it's not just my pool of lineups. I guess this is across every lineup that exists. Joel Embiid did have a positive ROI. He's not available now. So again, I don't know if that means it's going to be 1-to-1 with Drummond looking like such a good play. But I would think that Stokastic will like Drummond enough given how they're crazy for Embiid. Josh Minot, 2% simulated ROI here. Seems like the sim enjoying the potential minutes there for him or something like that. Cedric Coward, slightly negative ROI, but he's at number 3. Jalen Brunson, number 4. And Trenton Watford at number 5. Overall exposures, I think this part we did not get any Embiid exposures in, so this works. Josh Minot, 67% of these lineups, fields at 20. I think that number is probably going to come down because of just the value that'll open up from the slate and in particular the Philadelphia stuff moving around. But Josh Minot at 4,400, looking like a good value play before this Philadelphia stuff happened. Keontae George, 45% exposure, fields at 25. Big stand there in favor of Utah, like we expected, I guess, based off the data. Cedric Coward, all you guys in the chat who like him, you're getting Cedric Coward as a sim-friendly play. 41% exposure, fields at 16. I mean, the price tag may work. The shooting guard, small forward, having multi-position eligibility might make him get into lineups easily. And I would say for Cedric Coward, I think no matter what, he doesn't kill you on the slate. I just question him having like 40 fantasy point upside here because I think he's going to miss some shots, and I think the rebounding assists in a given game can flow away. You're kind of like Duren yesterday, where Duren like still played well, but Cade took a lot more away. That's sort of how offenses work. That's how I feel about Coward, except that he's a lower priority guy, in my opinion, than Jalen Duren is. Neemias Queta, 36% of these lineups, fields at 30. So Queta as your center might not be guaranteed as many minutes without Embiid out there, but he is playing the most center minutes right now for Boston. Peyton Pritchard, 35% exposure, fields at 29. Pritchard, again, playing better. I think will shoot better as well. Same thing for Derek White. And Emmanuel Quickly, Trenton Watford, these guys not too far behind. Highest leverage plays. We got Josh Minot, 47% more in the field. Coward, 25% more. Keontae George, 20% more. Jalen Brunson, 14% more in the field. And Isaiah Hartenstein, you're playing in about 1/5 of lineups. Stokastic's top 150. Field's only at 9. So Hartenstein definitely looking better in my data than he had to start the year. I will give him that. Noah Clowney, you're barely playing him. Only 3% exposure. Fields at 19. Does feel like he's due to shoot better, but he's really not rebounding or getting blocks enough for a guy whose price tag is rising. Andrew Nembhard, you're playing 16% less in the field. They are not chasing his usage and assist upside being up since his return to the lineup. Zaire Williams, negative 16% leverage. You are barely playing him as a secondary piece from Brooklyn. Michael Porter Jr., pretty noteworthy fade on him, negative 16% leverage. They're only at 25% exposure in Stokastic's top 150. Fields at 41. I don't think that'd be affected by Philadelphia stuff. So Porter Jr. Might just be a player that Stokastic is low on today. I don't know why, though, because I guess maybe the likelihood of Toronto kicking their ass, I guess that's possible. John Morant could also be the longer-term sample size with Denver. And Stokastic, again, I think is a little bit slow to catch up, to their credit, because I think there's a reason why, but a little bit slow to catch up sometimes. So, like, Porter Jr. now being a guy who rebounds and assists and chucks, because in Denver, he's the guy that, hit threes and stood around, didn't do a whole lot. John Morant, Stokastic fading as well here, 15% exposure, field to 23. At a certain point, John Morant's going to break slates again. The price tag keeps going down at 8,300, but, when is that going to be? I don't really know. We'll do a quick single lineup build here. Even though the slate will change meaningfully in this data when Philadelphia gets updated. But I will, again, be on the deeper dive later today with my good friend Josh Engelman at 5:30 Eastern, so I'll have more nuanced, updated takes for you guys then. My projection's already updated, so if you want to check them out, join the channel and one of the tiers that you get that with. All right. Let's just put Maxey in. Let's see what happens here. The sim likes Embiid, so it might still be okay with Maxey being played. I think that's what I'm going to try to do now. AJ Mitchell not shooting guard eligible, but I'm going to put him in at guard. Again, Stokastic does not have Mitchell as well projected as I do, so that may hurt our sim ROI. We know the sim loves Cedric Coward, but let's go Peyton Pritchard here. Just keeping the salary down. Pretty balanced lineup so far, besides Maxey. So really, one guy's really expensive. I don't think it's actually a balanced lineup. I might have spoken incorrectly there. Cedric Coward will put in. We know the sim is not going to be mad at him. Power forward. I don't think we could afford the top tier. All right, you know what, sim? You don't like Michael Porter Jr. Oh, he's not. Is he not a small forward? Or but not a power forward? He's small forward only. He's absolutely a power forward sometime out there. I guess he does play alongside Clowney and Claxton. Maybe not. All right, fuck me then. Let's go Claxton too. Now we need a power forward and a utility. We have spent way too much money. Dembono, one of those guys, is not going to look good in the data now. We know the sim will tolerate Josh Minot. So let's go Josh Minot. 3,300. I think we are dumpster diving a little bit too much here. Luka Garza. You know what? The sim did like Neemias Queta. So maybe go to Luka Garza, get some theoretical leverage. Let's see if there's a negative number or not. We got Maxey, Pritchard, Coward, Minot, Nick Claxton, AJ Mitchell, Michael Porter Jr., and Luka Garza. 100% ROI. All right. 0.3% win rate, cashing 38% of the time. And this is before the data update, so I don't think this lineup's going to get worse. It'll get a little more ownership on it, so maybe that'll make it worse. Hey, we did it. I passed the test, guys. That's all the stuff for today. So again, things are going to move around. I will have updates for you guys, both in the Discord when I do my projections update as the day goes on, but also on Stokastic later today at 5:30 Eastern. So come join me on there. If you got any value to this video, guys, I'll give you guys my splash plays in a minute. So that'll be the most value. Please do hit that like button. Please subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my gambling in the NBA every Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. Of course, I do work hard at it, as hopefully you can tell, because, you know, I say a lot of stuff. I talk fast. I feel like you talk as fast as I do. You can't be like totally an idiot, right? So please hit the like button, subscribe, check out Stokastic. Big way I support myself doing this stuff is you guys clicking that link and using the promo code SPLASH over at Stokastic. You get 15% off, which is the best deal they have going right now. It's in fact the only deal they have going. So get the data, get the sim stuff, see what Joel Embiid's absence means for the Sixers and Stokastic data with that promo code SPLASH. And join the channel, join the Discord. My data you get in the Squirt Squad tiers, but you can also join, support the show, and get into the Discord for $5 here. All right, splash plays for the day. AJ Mitchell is one of them. Michael Porter Jr. is another one of them. I mean, Maxey, the fact that he is my like top projected guy and I have him above SGA, I think he would be a splash play for me. How much he gets in the lineups is going to depend on how that math comes together. But I think he is one. I think Nurkic and Peyton Pritchard relative to ownership are going to be splash plays for me. But really, like Mitchell and Porter Jr., those are like the big ones here. Yeah, with the caveat for Porter Jr. that if Toronto kicks their ass, I don't think he gets there. He's going to be one of the chalkiest plays in the slate. But as we always have to remind ourselves here, chalk becomes chalk because they are usually the best plays or best players on a given slate. And I think that's what Michael Porter Jr. is, assuming Brooklyn doesn't lose by 50, which is always plausible. But shout out to all you guys hanging out here. Again, appreciate all you being here. Make sure to gamble responsibly, especially this time of year with the NFL NBA crossover. It was not a fun combo slate night for me last night, and I'm aware of that for myself, and I'm comfortable enough with my bankroll to be able to keep going after the action every night. But for you guys out there, I think it's important to say it out loud. Let's be mindful of that stuff, even though it is money time here I'm such an asshole pairing those two things together where it's like, here's the serious, like, let's be careful about our bankroll stuff, but then also let's flash the money dollar sign with my face on it. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Bets on YouTube, at Splash Play Pod on Twitter. And again, I'll be back at Stokastic on 5:30 or at 5:30, back tomorrow, 2 p.m. For what hopefully will be a nice little cheap slate on DraftKings. We'll have the $5 tournament with 100K on top, but we'll see then. And I will see you guys again soon. Oh, will it not? It won't let me play the outro. Why does this fucking StreamYard do this to me all the goddamn time? All right, well, no outro today, guys. I can click these buttons, I think, but I can't click the outro. Here's Daffy Duck, though. Here's here's the Chunky. Anyway, no outro. I will see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. I'm just going to stare at you awkwardly while the stream ends. All right. Bye, guys.